Is there anyone on the call for public comments? Doesn't look like that, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to introduce our new chair. I'm County Commissioner Gwen Myers, representing District 3 on the Board of County Commissioners. And we have two other members.
Correct.
Councilman Shisler from City of Temple Terrace. Councilman, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Well, you did a good job, Ms. Myers. Again, my name is Gil Schussler. I am the City Council representative for the City of Temple Terrace, currently Vice Mayor. I had been an adjunct member before, but now I guess I'm a full-fledged member through Hart, but glad to be here.
Thank you so much.
Then Mr. Vargas.
John Burgess, nice to meet you all. Actually, use Sunshine Line, same veteran, United States Army. But again, questions?
Okay, thank you. We'd like to welcome our new members to the Transportation Disadvantage Board. Your input would be very valuable to us and very impactful. So we want to congratulate you for thinking about coming onto this board. At this time, we'll move right on to approval of the minutes. Is there a motion?
Schussler moves to approve.
Have a second? Been seconded by, okay. If you can state your name when you're making the motion for the record so we can record that as well. Thank you so much.
Excuse me, Chair. This is Gail Reese, the recorder. I do need to let everybody know that we do have an in-person quorum that has been met, and some members are participating virtually because of medical reasons in the local declaration of emergency. And I will reiterate the Commissioner's comment. Please identify yourself for recording purposes.
Thank you so much, Gail. Do we have anyone opposing the minutes? If so, please state your name. Any opposed to the minutes? Here none, that our minutes would stand approved. We'll move right into our action item. Josh Barber, attendance review and a declaration of vacancy.
Yes. Hello, board members. Josh Barber, TPO staff. We review, according to the TPO bylaws, the attendance of all our board meetings for the past year. And, if members were not present for 3 consecutive meetings, the board reserves the right to remove that member if so desired. Last year, we had pretty solid attendance. There was some confusion between who was the appointed member for CART, between Mr. Vieira and Councilmember Vieira and Councilmember Shisler, but that seems to have been worked out at the last meeting. So I have no action on that item. And similarly with Mr. Pelkey, he missed a few meetings, but he attended the last one virtually. And so given that, I don't have any recommended action, but the board is free to make an action if they so desire.
We thank you for your comments, and I do strongly encourage everyone to make every effort to attend the meetings. Or if you need to be excused, please let us know prior to the meeting, or we can read it into the minutes of the records. Okay, let's continue with you, Josh, on election of officers.
Yep. Thank you. Josh Barber, TPO staff, once again. TPO bylaws require us to hold an election of officers every year. Our current officers are Gloria Mills, is our vice chair, and Mr. Mark Harshberger is our member at large. The vice chair is responsible for running meetings in the absence of Commissioner Myers, our current chair, and the member at large is responsible, for running meetings if the vice chair is out as well. So the way this works is we'll start with vice chair, and if there are any nominations, we'll take nominations. And then we'll do an up-down vote in the order that the nominations are received, and whoever receives a majority first will occupy that seat. I know that Ms. Mills has been serving as vice chair for a while. She is on her way, and she has expressed interest in continuing in that role. And so with that, are there any nominations for vice chair?
Are there any nominations for vice chair?
Are we allowed to nominate them in their absence? Okay. This is Mike Lacy. I'll nominate Gloria Mills.
Any other nominations?
There are none opposed.
Okay, so it appears we have no other nominations, so Gloria Mills will continue as Vice President of Transportation, a Disadvantaged Coordinating Board.
And the next member would be our member at large, which is Mr. Harshbarger. I have not, he has not indicated if he wishes to continue or not, but I would also open up the floor for nominations for anyone interested. And you may nominate yourself, of course.
Do we have any nominations for a member at large? Any
Just,
nominations?
what does that mean?
He's asking the question, what does it mean to serve as member at large?
You would chair the meeting in the absence of the chair or the vice chair.
I know we must have one person that might be interested.
Schistler, I'll volunteer.
Thank you, council member.
Thank you so much, council members. Anyone else? Calling for the nomination. Hearing none, then Councilman Schistler would be the member at large representing the board. Anything else, John, on the election of officers?
No, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much. We'll go right into item C, TIP amendments. Connor McDonald.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Let me just get my slides up. Can everyone see the screen okay?
Yes.
Perfect,
Yeah.
thank you. I'm Connor McDonald, TPO staff. I'm here to present the TIP amendments for the Hart Maintenance Facility and Gibsonton Drive widening study. So these three amendments were requested by the Florida Department of Transportation to add funds to the year 2022. There's three amendments, two being related to the Hart Maintenance Facility. So one amendment is to remove the $4 million in SU funds, and the second amendment is to add that $4 million to the Hart Heavy Maintenance Facility. The third amendment, a not related project, is the Gibson Drive widening study. This is an addition of $201,000. So the Hart Maintenance Facility amendments came from a TPO board directive in November 2021 to move funds from the bus replacement to the facility. I have had the chance to tour the facility myself, and I saw firsthand the issues the facility faces. For one, the facility is downhill, sort of in a basin, so it's prone to heavy flooding from sheets of water that come flowing into the area. It was originally built in the 80s as a large truck repair facility, so the design itself isn't conducive to an efficient process. For example, due to low ceilings, the buses can't be raised for repair in half of the garage area. In addition, the counterintuitive design means that buses must make a 90-degree turn to go from fueling to washing. Not only are these issues great in and of themselves, they also make it difficult to retain talent, as many mechanics have chosen to work at more sustainable facilities. There's also heavy cracking in the concrete surrounding the facility. So I was able to take some photos of the facility. In the first photo on the top left, you see where the buses cannot be raised. There's also cracking in the concrete and sort of the basin that you see in the top right. The bottom left, you can see that 90-degree turn the buses must make from fueling to washing. And in the fourth photo in the bottom right, you can see residue from where flooding has happened inside the building. So the first amendment is to remove funds from the bus replacements. It's removing $4 million from SU funds. So there is an FT-AT fund still remaining. And then second amendment is to add those funds to the Hart maintenance facility construction. So the Gibbston Drive widening study is not related to the Hart maintenance facility. It's to add funds for a PD&E study on Gibbston Drive from Fernhill Drive near US I-75 to US 301. PD&E studies, as defined by FDOT, ensures transportation projects are developed with current engineering standards, project costs, and minimization of social and environmental impact. The project will include some public engagement, including a kickoff meeting, small group meetings, and a public hearing. The amendment is to add $201,000 for a PD&E study in the year 2022. As part of a public outreach pilot, we have taken some measures to help inform the public. This has included the posting of 3 signs, a web page, a newsletter, press release, and social media posts. With that, the recommended action today is to approve the 3 amendments to the fiscal year 21-22 TIP and recommend approval to the TPO board. With that, I conclude my presentation. Are there any comments or questions?
Schissler with a question.
Yes.
Can you go back to the slide where you discussed the $4 million bus there? Define SU and FTAT for me in that first column.
That's a good question. Let me check really quickly. There's several acronyms, so it's for these funds.
It's like alphabet soup.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, my concern is, how has this been communicated with Hart so that Hart can modify their budget / spending anticipation for 2022? $4 million is a big chunk of what we were using to buy buses with.
Absolutely, and I don't want to speak for Hart. I don't know if there's anyone on the line, but so their mitigation strategy is that since they're still using CNG buses, they're able to be more competitive for grants, as other transit agencies are competing for electric vehicle grants. So the pool for CNG buses have been smaller, so they're able to be more competitive for other grants that will potentially replace that $4 million that they'll be missing from SU5.
Well, we've got a commitment for $2.5 billion for five EVs that is out there. Is this going to affect that, or is this strictly for the 16 new buses that Hart has on order, or do you know the answer to that?
I don't know the answer directly. I'm not familiar with that. Like you said, it was $2.5 billion. You said for
Right.
EV.
Roughly, it's a matching grant to the feds, but being sitting on the Hart board, I haven't heard of this issue yet, where there was going to be a switch in source of money from bus replacement to the heavy maintenance facility. This could be a budget issue for them, and I just want to make sure that this has been communicated well to Ms. Kirk, so that and Ms. LeGrand, so that they can adjust accordingly and act accordingly.
Correct, and I have been working with Linda Crescentini at Hart, so I'm sure that hopefully this message has been passed through Hart. But Linda Crescentini, I think, who overviews some financial areas, she's definitely aware.
Okay, well, I'll reach out to Ms. Kirk and make sure that everybody's on the same page, if that's okay with everybody. And I'm prepared to make a motion if it's appropriate.
Excuse me, Chair.
Yes.
Rich Clarendon is on the call and says that he may have an answer to this question.
Okay, thank you. We can hear from him now. Thank you. Rich?
Yes, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm not getting a video, not seeing my video, so I apologize. But I'm Richard Clarendon. I'm the Assistant Director for the TPO. The SU dollars that the councilman was asking about our surface transportation block grant dollars. These are FHWA federal highway dollars that come to our area, and the MPO has the discretion to allocate to specific projects. The FTAT funds are Federal Transit Administration dollars that are, I believe, formula dollars, formula grants that come directly to HART. And as Connor pointed out, we've been coordinating closely with HART staff and FDOT on this amendment for shifting the dollars from the replacement buses to the heavy maintenance facility. Again, I don't want to speak for HART, but it's my understanding that the upgrade and reconstruction of the maintenance facility is their #1 priority.
Understood. And I agree with that. I just want to make sure that the right hand knows what the left hand's doing. That's all.
Agreed. Thank you.
Okay, Councilman Schussler, did that answer your question?
Yes, it did, but I was wondering, Connor, could I get a snapshot of this page emailed to me after the meeting?
Absolutely.
That'd be a big help. And then that way, when I close my end of the loop, then I can make sure everybody's talking the same numbers. Okay, thank you. I move to approve.
Is there a second?
I second. Tracy Noyes, FDOT.
Okay, thank you. Anyone opposed of the recommendation? If so, state your name. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, then that we would approve the recommendation. Thank you so much. I also would just like to welcome Gloria Mills, who have joined our meeting.
Thank you.
Okay, so she's here. Okay. Do you have anything else, Connor? If not, we would move to Josh. That's Barbara. On community transportation coordinated evaluation.
I do not have anything else. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Connor. Hello, board members. Josh Barber, TPO staff. Once again, I'm here with the fiscal year 2021 Community Transportation Coordinator Evaluation. This evaluation covers the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2021. So we'll run through this. A quick overview of what is the CTC evaluation, the Community Transportation Coordinator Evaluation. This is a state-required planning product that comes as part of our Transportation Disadvantage Planning Grant that the TPO receives every year. We evaluate the Sunshine Line on 4 major areas as outlined in our Transportation Disadvantage Service Plan. This is includes performance evaluation, looking at issues of reliability, service effectiveness, efficiency, availability, as well as safety and complaints. We also pull together a customer survey. We mail out surveys to our door-to-door customers, as well as customers that receive a HART bus pass that is both fixed route and the ADA paratransit network. And there's also an evaluation workbook which covers the regulatory and statutory compliance elements of the Sunshine Line's requirements. And finally, there's a set of recommendations issued at the end. So we'll run through these together. We do have a section in there on the continued impacts of COVID-19 during that fiscal year. Some big takeaways is that aging services sites remain closed throughout that evaluation period, continue to be closed today, which has significantly impacted the number of trips taking place. Scott, correct me, it's about 40% of all the trips that you all were making prior to COVID. Phased reopenings of non-essential sites began in June of 2020. So just right before the start of this evaluation period is when we really started to see COVID restrictions being lifted across the state and more trips taking place. And there was a limited capacity of group trips throughout the evaluation period, which has been slowly increasing. But nonetheless, that impacted the number of total trips that were able to occur during this period. This is the service evaluation component. of the plan. You can see that the Sunshine Line met every standard as outlined in our service plan, save for two. That is trips per capita. So that's the number of trips taking place per person every year. That standard is half a trip per person. And they were at 0.28 trips per person. So you can see how COVID really impacted the number of trips taking place. And same thing with trips per revenue hour. The standard is greater than 2 trips and 1.19 trips were taking place per service hour, per revenue hour at that time. But all the other standards were met. The only other standard that I noticed a significant change on was the number of chargeable accidents per 100,000 vehicle miles traveled. That increased quite a bit, but I think that's consistent with local and national trends on the rise of crashes across the country. The results from our door-to-door survey came back pretty stellar as usual. We have a brief overview of the kind of people that we reached. So 76% were over 60, 40% used the service over 5 times a month, 64% were women. And you can see that the questions on vehicle cleanliness, drivers, reservations, trips, service were all pretty much outstanding in the 98 to 99%. Strongly agree with the statement, or at least agree. And just some comments that we received through the survey. People who say the Sunshine Line helped them greatly in becoming cancer-free, started chemo to now. An 87-year-old has the Sunshine Line has made their life a lot better. How the drivers are very courteous. And then some questions or some suggestions on Saturdays, availability at 24 hours or less, stuff like that. So a range, but all in all, very positive, very much increasing the quality of life. People seem very satisfied, all in all. And we provide these comments to Scott every year as well. So if there are any issues that arise, Scott can address them directly. We also send out a survey to bus pass customers. So these are customers that live within HART's ADA paratransit route network or are on a HART fixed route if they're able to ride that. 72% of those customers are over 60. 84% use the service more than 5 times a month. The positive responses were a bit lower for HART Plus and HART's fixed route. You can see a bit of a decline in satisfaction with complaints, but and as well as vehicle cleanliness. But people are feeling a bit safer riding during the pandemic during that time as well. So, and just some comments and other responses. You can see that the split between people who ride HART's local service and HART Plus is about 70-30 for our customers. A lot of people get to the bus by walking, but there are a number of people that use a mobility device or have some other means of getting to bus stops if they're not on paratransit. And there's a good number of people who use a Lyft to get on the bus. About 20% of Sunshine Line's bus pass customers use a Lyft. And some comments here as well. We got a number of comments in Spanish, large Hispanic population receiving bus passes. Some concerns over drivers waiting until passengers sit down to start moving, but also people very satisfied on how the bus pass improves their quality of life and reduces the financial burden of transportation as well. And so at the end of the report, the appendix, there's the evaluation workbook. This is a workbook that's provided by the Commission for the Transportation Disadvantaged for us to fill out every year. Like I said, it goes over statutory regulatory requirements, Chapter 427 of Florida statutes, Rule 41-2 of the Administrative Code. And really the big takeaway there is that there were no findings or areas of concern to be addressed. The recommendations, there was a minor edit that hasn't been reflected in the report itself, but basically to continue to respond to the pandemic as it evolves, as it's changed. and to restore service to baseline levels as the pandemic continues to wind down. The language in the report says when it ends, but that seems to be maybe a bit of a misnomer these days. So we decided to change that language. The report is included in your agenda packet. There's a link to the website, the full report. I hope you all had a chance to review it. And I'm happy to take any comments, questions, or any edits. And my recommended motion is to approve the evaluation and transmit it to the commission.
Question, this is Dr. Gordon.
Yes, Dr. Gordon. ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. How many respondents were there to the door-to-door survey? I'm sorry, I must have missed that.
Yeah, I have it in the report. I believe we had a 40% response rate, and there were about 500 surveys returned.
Okay, 500. Thank you.
Yes.
And you think that's 40%?
It was definitely 40%.
Mhm.
And
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it was 500 surveys returned.
Okay, that's a pretty good response rate.
Beth, you had your hand up?
Yes, my question was, well, tagged on that one. In addition, how many were returned, or what percentage was returned for the bus users?
40%. There was 40%.
Door to door and bus, it was the same.
Yes, it was about 40%. There were less surveys sent out to the Sunshine Line customers themselves, or to the people who ride the Sunshine Line, but the response rate was the same. I think we had about 250, 275 returns for Sunshine Line riders themselves.
And is that about consistent with what has been returned in previous years?
Yeah, just about, if not a little bit better than last year. I think we had maybe 180 or 200 returned last year, so we had an increase this year.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? And we know that.
I'm sorry, yeah, I have a question.
Go ahead.
It's a comment and a question. First of all, number one, very good report, good results. It's indicative of how hard you guys and the entire staff is working to make it a good program. I do have a question though. Is there any type of social media available that I can use within the city of Temple Terrace to broadcast to my disadvantaged residents and senior citizens to take more advantage of the services that are offered in this particular area? If there's anything, I would like to get a hold of it so I can pass on to our social media people, and they can put more information out on the street. And I'll stop there.
I would ask Scott if there's any social media kind of templates you all have put together.
There's not, that would go through our communications department, but feel free to contact me, after this meeting, and we can do some collaborating, and I can get the communications department involved, your communications department, and see what we can get going.
I will do so. And who do I need to contact again? I'm sorry.
Right? Can you provide him my contact? Joshua will provide you with my contact information.
Okay, great deal. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'm going to be a pain in the neck, so I apologize ahead of time.
And thank you for that consideration.
Maybe that's something we could look towards with all the local jurisdictions,
Yeah.
having a social media kind of outreach campaign about the Sunshine Line and that option available.
Yes. It's a great idea. Any other concerns or questions? Excellent report. Thank you so much, Josh, and your input as well, Scott. Okay. So we'll move right along.
I do
Oh,
need
no, we have a recommendation on the floor. So the recommendation is coming from staff
to approve
to approve the recommend evaluation
Yeah.
process.
This is Beth Pass, a motion to approve.
Have a second.
Mike Lacy, second.
It's been properly moved in second. Do we have any opposers to the motion? Any opposers? If so, state your name. Hearing none, then the recommendation passes.
Thank you, everybody.
Gonna move right into our status report. The HART ADA Fair Transit Program update. Gregory Braxton, HART staff.
Good morning, Madam Chair, board members. This is Greg Bracken. I'm the Director of Operations Support ADA Coordinator for HART. We've been notoriously coming around giving a quarterly update, and we had a little bit some changes that I wanted to bring up to everyone today. Before you see a new map, HART has decided to increase our ADA coverage corridors. Notoriously, the industry ADA requirement is a 3/4 buffer around our fixed route systems. HART has decided to increase that. We are now servicing 1.5 miles from our fixed route corridors. As you see in the map, our interior is solidly covered already because of that corridor coverage that exists already. So there is no pockets or anything in the middle there. So basically, we're extending an additional 3/4 mile outside the service area that we've already been servicing historically. Been in touch with Scott and TPO and advised them we started this in February the 6th. Very short notice that it just came out very quickly for us. But we are in communications. They are providing us with the clients that are in that corridor, and we'll do a transition plan with recertification on our side and that. So we are sent out a letter to our current clients to let them know that they can go a little further out now and make them aware of that. So that's already in the process with our customer service department. Sunshine Line has also been sending out letters to their clients and contacting them via phone and giving them our information to make the transition as smooth as possible as we go along. So that's a pretty big change. That is the max that we can go under the ADA regulations. So we made that decision to go ahead and service that extra. For our quarterly numbers, actually I'll start off with the year. Last year for our fiscal year 21, which is October 1st of 20 through September 30th of 21, HART Plus did 129,316 trips. Our on-time performance at the door was 90.93% on time. And to get people to their appointments, the ones that make appointments, we were 99.17% on time for those. For last month, January of 2022, we performed 13,440 trips. Pickup average was about 89.17% on time. And our appointment time was, again, 99.09% average. We are averaging about 550 to 600 trips a day. We are still rebounding from COVID a little bit. Our peak prior to COVID was about 900 trips a day. So we're slowly getting back up there. We're seeing a couple of days exceeding 700 trips. So we anticipate that that'll continue to keep growing. We also are utilizing Yellow Cab to provide our same-day service. They are doing very well and increased their on-time performance with us as well. We are about ready to do our last renewal with them on our RFP, and that should be coming up in April, May timeframe. And so we should be good with them for another year. Any questions?
Yes, Gloria has a question. Go ahead, Gloria.
Greg, I'd like to know, maybe you said it and I didn't hear it, but when will these changes will take to effect?
They went into effect February the 6th. They're already in place.
Thank you.
Mike Lacey, I had a question. So I heard you expanded the area by like 0.75. What's the total area away from the stop that someone can receive ADA transportation now?
It'd be 1.5 miles from our fixed route service.
Thank you.
On each side, yes.
Greg, this is the chair, Commissioner Myers.
Yes, ma'am.
How you all continue to outreach to let the public know of the changes?
We've taken it out to our regular customers, but ADA is not one that is advertised per se. So, but it's all through communication. Our website does show our Heart Plus service availability and what we do. So those maps have all been updated for the public to see where and what is serviced by our ADA coordinators.
Okay. And I know that the blind services, have you outreach to them just to let them know as well?
Yes, ma'am. Kimberly Green, my director of customer service, has been in touch with Ms. Brown already and making that communication.
Are there any other questions?
Yes, this is Artie Fryer.
Good morning.
Good
Go ahead.
morning. I'm interested. I think this is great to make this expanded, and I'm going to presume that you will have some statistics or such to show how this improves service and usage for ADAs. Is that correct? Because I think that would be something that would be important for us, this board, to at least know the response and how, whether it's positive or what degree it's positive. So can you let me know if you all are going to be measuring performance and how this improves service?
I can make that happen. Right now, I don't know the clientele that are in this buffer zone because it's been serviced by Scott and Sunshine Line previous to us. So, we are also, if someone lives outside this corridor, they can make their way to our corridor and still utilize our service. So those are things that we would have to track, but I'll give my customer service direct manager and see if we can't track our new applicants and see how many come in from these additional buffer zones that we're including in our service.
All right, certainly, thank you. I think that would be important for this board to know, at least that persons are utilizing the changes and the improvements that are being put in place. Thank you very much.
No problem.
I think it will warrant maybe after 6 months if they can come back and give us an update where they are. With that would be good.
We can do that. No problem.
Okay, thank you. Any other concerns or questions? None?
Madam Chair, I'm going to talk about this during my update. Would you want me to discuss that now, ever since it's a topic on the board, or should I wait to my updates?
You can go ahead so we can stay on the same topic. You want me to?
So anytime mass transit expands, that's a great thing. That's a good thing. We've been talking about this forever and a day. When HART expands, that's good, because in theory, as public transit expands, TD would shrink. The door-to-door service would shrink. They can work on other things. So that's a good thing. But we have to think about what are some of the unintended consequences of expanding or improving. There's always going to be some. So with the coordinated system, if you look on the map, that blue area, Sunshine Line services the transportation disadvantage in that area right now. So we provide people who have no transportation with door-to-door transportation. So as HART expands out, they only provide that service for people with disabilities. Where transportation disadvantage provides a service for low income, people 60 or over, and people with disabilities. So what's going to happen, the people we serve right now, Sunshine Line, who have a disability, they have to transfer over to HART Plus. Now, people low income at 60, they'll stay on Sunshine Line because they can't ride on HART Plus. So we have to still be that mechanism. A lot of those individuals have been riding with Sunshine Line for decades, some of them. And now there's also going to be a fare involved. Sunshine Line has no copay. We did away with that a couple of years ago. And so that might be an issue, but we do have a bus pass program for low income. So these are things that we have to think about too. What else? So we can't have, so say they have the mile and a quarter. Right now, anybody within 3/4 of a mile of our services now, if they don't have a disability and they're low income, they get bus passes. So they can walk to the bus stop. 3/4 of a mile is acceptable. It's not the best, but it is acceptable. 1.5 miles wouldn't be. So we have to still provide that door to door. So we could, for instance, say that one person in a household has a disability, they're riding Heart Plus, another person is low income, they're riding with Sunshine Line. So that's something that we have to be aware of and see. Not that that's a bad thing or a good thing, that's just our shared corridor now we can talk about as we collaborate with the coordinated system. And then one might be going one way, one might be going another, or if one's an escort, then they can ride with Heart Plus, things like that. So these are things that we'll have to work out, Greg and I. And we can work through this as leaders in Hillsborough County. We can work through these issues. Another thing is identifying these individuals that we serve. Our software doesn't tell us everybody who lives in that little blue line. It's just, it doesn't do that. So we have to look by zip code, how many people live in those different zip codes, and check individually every single address, because our software will show if their address is in Hart's area. But there's no report that we can pull. Now, Joshua said that he might be able to help out with GIS and pulling that data where we merge our data and identify that. So that's something we're going to work on. But otherwise, we're going to manually have to look up each and every one of our clients in those bordering zip codes to identify who's in that blue line. And then we have to notify them. Our plan is we're going to call them, let them know, do a smooth transition. Once we can't, we'll send a letter to and do the application. We're going to continue providing service. Even by statute, we're not supposed to, because we can't duplicate service. If they ride transit, they have to ride transit. They can't ride TD. But we talked to the Commission of Transportation Disadvantage, and they're fine with us providing 30-day service. And we can actually get an extension too, because the clientele that we deal with, a lot of times they can't get the paperwork done within that 30 days. So we'll do that extension. So it's uninterrupted transition. We're trying to make it as smooth as possible. So those are just some of the things that I would like the board to be aware of. Benefits for Sunshine Line riders, our service ends at 5, but with Hart ADA, they have late hours. You know, I don't know how late do your buses run? Greg?
1 o'clock in the morning is our last outside.
So they can go anywhere at night. They can go anywhere within the Hart's area for any reason. With us, we have our trip priorities and stuff like that, and we go to the nearest like facility. So someone in Plant City, if they might want to go to Walmart in Town and Country, we don't do that. We'll take you to the Walmart in Plant City. We don't have the resources. But within Hart, anywhere you can go on a bus, you can use ADA. So those are some of the benefits that we're going to also let the clients know. This sort of lessen the impact. And, so my one concern though is if we look on the map down by MacDill, there's a place called Ballast Point. That's that little area in the white on the right-hand side. You're right there. They're not covered. So Sunshine Line would actually have to go from all the way outside that area, all the way down there to transport somebody to go maybe a mile to Burton Plaza shopping. So that's a concern too, because it's way out of that whole service area. So I don't know if there's anything Hart can do to cover that little piece to make it a better coordinated system or not. You know, I just wanted to bring that up too. That would be great if that little area could also be covered. That way we're not deadheading all the way down there just to move people a short distance. And that's pretty much all I have. And so we're continuing to work on identifying the individuals. We'll notify them, and then we'll continue to provide the service until they get on with Hart. And our customer service managers, they talk all the time anyway, Hart's and Sunshine Lines. So they'll let us know when their applications get approved or if there's any issues. If we can intervene and help, we'll do that. So we're working collaboratively on this whole improvement in transit.
Thanks, Scott. Greg, I don't know if you could, was able to hear Scott. He has a concern outside the service area of Ballast Point. Can
Yes,
you all
ma'am.
have a conversation after this meeting to see how we can work together without having any interruption of service in the Ballast Point area? Can you and Scott
Yes, ma'am.
maybe done after this meeting?
Yes, ma'am, we will. And Scott and I have already discussed that previously to this meeting too. So we'll continue those conversations.
Thank you. Any other concerns or after hearing Scott's comment? Thank you so much, Scott, for that update. And any other comments before we move on? Okay, then we'll continue with you, Scott.
All right. So I want to start off by welcoming you, Madam Chair, and the new board members. And if you ever want to learn about Sunshine Line, please contact me. You can do that through Joshua, and I have a great presentation to talk about Sunshine Line. We can go back when we started in 1975 all the way to now to get a better understanding of the coordinated service between HART and Sunshine Line. And Sunshine Line being a human services transportation is a little different than mass transit. So I always like to bridge that so everyone is aware. So I'm willing to give that presentation to any of the new members. And I always like to start off with some good news. So it doesn't sound like good to start off. We got a request from Commissioner's office about a client, and at first we thought it was a complaint. And you know, any complaint we look at seriously and dig into it, find root cause and things like that, and try and come up with a quick resolution. But what we found out, it wasn't a complaint on Sunshine Line. So I want to read some of our findings. Is a client that shared with us that she's having a difficult time getting to her doctor's appointment due to being stranded by Humana, who is her medical transportation provider, and pleaded to see if there was a way, any way we can take her to her doctor's appointments. She says she's 85 years old, has been stranded by Humana on numerous occasions, has missed her much needed medical appointments. She stated that the service provided by Sunshine Line is by far the best transportation service she has ever received, and the employees are very professional, always on time and caring. She is hearing impaired and has missed critical appointments to her hearing doctor, eye doctor, and dentist, and has lost sleep over this. This seems to be a trend with the HMOs providing service. We can't duplicate it, but in this case, I had to make an exception. 85 years old, she doesn't have another way. She can't walk, and she lives, and also where she lives, all the way on county line, not on like Highway 60, but in Lithia, all the way on county line. To get to the nearest bank is 15 miles away. So, so we're providing that service for her as an exception to our rule. And we can't use TD funding for that because that goes against the statute. So we're sort of absorbing that trip, but that was our resolution. And the thing is, well, that's not fair. The way I control that is, would I do this for anybody else in the same situation? If the answer is yes, then it's good to do. And our staff know that too. And we have escalation. So CSR can't approve something like that, but they escalate it up through management until it gets to me and then we make those decisions. So that was the good news. So she's now getting to her doctor's appointments and things like that. Also, another thing, we had a ALF evacuation that we had to do through our EWG emergency working group through the Office of Emergency Management. We got a call the other day. Colonial ALF had a fire and the residents were outside and it was getting hot and they wanted to get them cooled down. So the EWG works collaboratively with HART, Sunshine Line, and School Board Transportation. So they called us all up. We showed up there. HART brought some buses over there, School Board and Sunshine Line to keep the people cool. Now, when their contracted transportation showed up, because every ALF, every care provider like that has to have a contract for evacuation, and also alternate site, the first bus shows up and my manager of operation goes there, hey, you got a lift, does it work? Oh, no, that hasn't worked in years. Got a problem there. The next bus showed up, that lift worked. So they were able to get people loaded up. So they were coming from HART's bus, from the cool down bus, loading up to that one, getting ready to go to Winter Haven. Well, then there were too many patients, not enough room on the buses. So Sunshine Line we used 3 of our buses to help transport 16 of those people all the way to Winter Haven and back as part of that effort. Another bad news about the fire, but good news that we were able to work collaboratively as a county to get the mission accomplished. All right. So another thing I'd like to do is go over some of our key service indicators. So this is for January 22, but I want to look at January this year compared to January last year, and then compare it to January in 2019. I'm going to go through that real quick. So new clients this year, 205. Our average is 188, so things are getting better, meeting our goal, going toward our goals and objectives. It's up 13% from 2020-21. And in January 2019, it was 401. So big decrease through the pandemic. Door-to-door trips, 5,992. I know, Greg, you're laughing. Average is 5,900, but it's up 44% from last year. And then this one, January 19, 13,684 trips. That's how much our service has reduced. And you're thinking, well, why do you need so many drivers? Because everyone's spread out through the 1,000 square miles of Hillsborough County, and we can't get that many people on board. So we're going further distances to pick up the next people. So the resources are needed. Bus pass trips. Well, bus pass is 1,369. The equivalent to bus pass trips would be 31,337. In 2019, it was 40,000. So what happened recently is when we transitioned to Flamingo with Hart was able to get to where we can report the trips. Previously, we couldn't, and we had to use the state's estimation of 12 trips per monthly pass. That means that people only go 6 places in the whole month, which was always underestimated. So we always did our calculations, what we thought was right. And the Flamingo card and our calculations are spot on. So it goes to show. And where that benefits, instead of the 12 trips, what the state had us do, we're able to show them the real time. So now we're reporting higher numbers. So that affects our formula for the grant. So we should get a little, hopefully a bump up with that. Then on-time performance is 90%, and which is a standard. And 2019 it was 91%, but we were doing a lot more work. But we're still covering the same area. Calls handled 6,109, 96% answer rate, and that's up 29% from last year. And from 2019 we did 7,292. So we're getting up there on our calls. Compliments 12, our average is 12. 2019 it was 14 compliments. Complaints, we had 6 in January, and 2019 we had 7. And accidents 0, 2019 0 for the month of January. Cost per trip, now this is one thing, $78.23, but it's down 16% from last year, which is a good thing. So we're starting to get it normalized. But in January 2019, it was $32.48 a trip. So my goal, things aren't going to go back to normal. It's just not going to happen. But my goal right now is to get that to about the $45 range. I think that would be the new area for the cost per trip. That's because salaries are increasing, things like that. But as trips increase, the cost per trip goes down. So that's why we're really pushing it. One of the things we did to increase our trips is we opened up group trips again for the senior housing facilities, but they're still really leery with the Omicron going around and stuff like that, with going out shopping and stuff like that. So we're working it. Even though our buses, we have air purifiers on them now, we have barriers for the passenger seats, and we have hand sanitizers on there. We have a lot of protocol in place. People are still a little leery. Some highlights. Now, the Commission for Transportation Disadvantage has some potential funding for the innovation grant that we had previously that went away. And we're looking at doing our nights and weekends again, if it gets approved through the legislation, that we're going to apply for that grant. And we're looking at cross-county trips with Pinellas for the Transportation Disadvantage for Pinellas, Pasco, and Hillsborough. So that would be a separate grant that Pasco's looking at. They'll apply for it. the other two counties will tag in with them. So just some innovative things we're looking at for the TD community. Aging services, good news. They plan on reopening the centers in early April. Yay! And we love working with them, taking people to the senior nutrition program, to the adult daycare, and then the major events they have. When Aging has an event, we're moving like 200 plus people at one time, plus maintaining our TD centers. So, and it's amazing. You see 14, 15 buses of Sunshine pulling up, dropping off, and they do their little senior proms and dances and little events, and then we come on back, stay, and pick them up and take them all back home throughout the county. So we're really looking forward to that. Currently, here's some bad news. Currently, we're operating at 64% for our operators, our drivers. We have a driver shortage, which nationwide, transit agencies, trucking companies, things like that. So it's really having an impact on us. I have, out of the past 3 recruitments, only gotten like 3 drivers. This current one right now, we had 6 candidates. Perfect. We interviewed, good to go. 3 of them declined because of low pay. 1 declined because of vaccination mandate. Then we were like down to 2. We have 1 on board and the other 1 couldn't pass the physical. So we're going to put all our 5 weeks of training effort, including me teaching, because we don't have any certified trainers right now, which would be fixed next week when they go to class. But 5 weeks of training for 1, I mean, it's worth it. They're going to be the highest trained driver on the force. And then we've got a current recruitment going on. But what are you doing about that, Scott? Well, we're working with our human resources, looking at the pay disparity, and looking at compensation, and then the recruitment portion of HR. We're working with CareerSource, with Indy, who sits on this board, collaborating with that. Not only with the driver advertisement, but she has a summer program that needs assistance with transportation. So we're collaborating with that. And then we're getting decals on all the vehicles saying that we're hiring with the little code, what do you call that for the phone? QR code. There you go, QR code. So those are some of the things that we do. Purchase service for overflow. We currently have a bid in progress for what was formerly known as the taxi contract. And that's for any time we have overflow trips that we can't handle, we farm those out to taxi. You know, taxi is not the greatest, but we did open it up this time to taxi, TNC, the transportation network like Uber and Lyft, and to any kind of paratransit operation. That helps us with that overflow. And then if someone has employment at night and stuff like that. We talked about Heart Plus service changes. One last thing, they're talking about transportation funding and the new tax. So I would recommend that this board send a letter to the county administrator and the Board of County Commissioners chair, just informing them to consider transportation disadvantaged as transportation funding discussions occur. Because sometimes TD isn't considered until after the fact. And at that point, you know, funds are lacking, and then funding has to come from other pools. So while we're in these discussions, it would be great for them to just consider transportation disadvantage, a little fraction of that to help meet our needs. And I know Joshua is looking at some stats and things like that that we can provide. And we've done this before. The last referendum, we also asked the county administrator and the board to really look at considering transportation disadvantage, because we look at transit, the big one, yeah, but we're not thinking about what about those outside that area. And that's pretty much it for my report.
What a wealth of information. Again, thank you and Sunshine Line for all that you all are doing. Staff to make sure that our seniors and those who want to get where they're going. And I commend you for the special exemption that you made for the 85-year-old lady who needed to have the necessary transportation so that she could sleep at night and be at ease. And that's what we're supposed to do as county employees, find a way to help those who are struggling or don't know how to get where they're trying to go. That Hillsborough County government is here to help. So thank you so much. Any comments or concerns for Scott? Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
Yeah, this is Artie Fryer. I believe Scott asked that we compose a letter and send it to the BOCC.
Yes.
I'm not sure if we need to vote on that. If not, then I think it would be good for us to agree to do that, and whoever would compose that letter, I would want to make sure that we get that done.
Okay. I think we can agree unanimously to do that because it would help those individuals. Also, the disadvantaged individuals who are looking for better transportation, that they are not excluded in the transportation process with the referendum coming up that we're trying to get on the board. I'm sorry, that we're trying to get ready to vote on this coming November. I was going to talk about that at the end. So can we agree to send a letter to County Administrative Body Wise to include the disadvantaged transportation as a part of, to consider for funding the transportation tax pass?
I'd be happy to pull that together.
Okay. I'd be happy to sign. Okay, that is taken care of, Artie. Thank you so much. I can't.
Tracy.
Tracy, okay, I didn't see your name tag. Tracy.
Tracy Noyes.
Okay, good.
The cross-county trips that you discussed, is that a grant that you need to apply for?
Yeah, that would have, yeah, through the transportation disadvantage program. For if the funding is approved through the legislation to increase CTD fundings. And the background to that is the governor has a recommended budget with increased funding for them. So if that gets approved, that'll help increase. But they're also, there's, what is it called?
The innovation service.
Yeah, that was it. But the trust fund, the appropriations doesn't allocate the full amount of the trust fund for the commission for some reason. And they're always leaving about 6 million in the trust fund that could be appropriated and used. So that's a push that they're working with the legislation to get that done too. So if that goes through and they allocate the entire trust fund, that would increase, they would have the money then for the innovation grants statewide. And it would also increase our trip and equipment grant a little bit too. So that's one of the things we were pushing through this legislative session. And when they went up on TD Day and we're discussing things like that, because that not only helps Hillsborough County, it would help the statewide transportation disadvantage. And then one of the counties would have to apply for that. I know Hillsborough County, we want to do our nights and weekends. So, and you can only do one grant, you can't do multiples. And Pinellas wants to do the same thing for their work, after hours work program. So it's leaves Pasco is the only one that's not applying for innovation that would have to do that. We would have to tag in on them. And this is only in just like informal discussion right now and hoping, but those are, like I said, it's potential funding opportunities that we can look forward to.
That leads me to my next question. So all 3 counties, Go Pasco, PSTA, and Hillsborough would all have to coordinate together to apply for the grant?
And I don't know what that would look like.
Right.
It's never been done before, but we have good leaders in all three counties. So.
I think as, you know, the population expands and the need for better transportation expands, I believe people will coordinate better, the counties will coordinate together.
Yeah, I think so too. And we've been looking at this since I think 2012. So Pinellas and Pasco have more of a need to come into Hillsborough. Hillsborough, we really don't have that much of a demand to go to those other places. And one thing we do is we'll provide on a case-by-case basis a trip to those counties. For instance, St. Luke's and Pasco, if someone needs to go there, we'll make that exception. Or say they have to go to All Children's in St. Pete because the hospitals here can't handle the situation, we'll make that exception too. So that's something we wrote into our plan this year. We were doing it behind the scenes anyway, but we're like, let's get it in the plan.
Excellent. That's exciting.
We're about transportation solutions.
think that cross-county will be really great if we can make that happen. You know, it's been a need for a long time, and it's a real shame that, you know, paratransit under the ADA does not include express routes. So while there are, you know, fixed routes between Pinellas and Hillsborough, they're not covered under ADA. So really, like, anyone with a disability that can't get to a fixed route is kind of left without cross-county transportation at this point, unless Sunshine Line provides it on as requested as needed. So.
Yeah, we're looking at, that would probably have to be contracted out. We couldn't absorb that within that service, because we can't get our drivers out there. It's taking too far out of the network.
Victoria?
I want to remind her all that this has nothing to do with Sunshine Line, but for a while last 2021, we had TD Tampa Bay, which was 5 counties where people could, people with disabilities, not all the persons that are using Sunshine Line, but the people with the disability had county to county service, like Pinellas to Hillsborough or Pasco to Hillsborough. This was for a few months, and then funding was cut off. And I think we have to remember that this is something of the future, including people that are over 60 who may not want to drive. The travel gets in Tampa, one of my witnesses, it gets worse. The traffic gets worse. And then people don't, they hesitate to drive. And so let's not forget that we have had county to county, and this is something that we need to have. Doctors are wherever there are, and you might want to go to another doctor, for example. I will stay talking because I could talk about this for a long time, but let's not forget.
Thank you so much.
And so for you guys were needing jobs, and I actually have a lot of, so with APDs for persons with disabilities, and transportation jobs are actually highly coveted by the population I work with, because it doesn't require a lot of, you know, physical, you know, lifting of this and that. They always find the barriers getting the CDL. Is there any like suggestion or like some workaround I can maybe suggest to them if they're interested in this?
Well, Sunshine Line does not require CDLs.
Okay.
They just have to have a year experience and have to have a clean driving record. They have to pass our background checks, which is the ACA level 2 and the area on aging, elder affairs background checks. And that's pretty much it. And be able to drive and have a servant's heart.
So I say, if you want,
like to serve
you
people
can
with
compose
disabilities.
like some email, whatever you want it to look like, and I can send that out to all the supported living or supported employment coaches in the region. And so then if they have any clients who they believe would be a good fit, you know, so they could bring them towards you.
And they also provide, part of the job description is the door-to-door. So the drivers walk to the door and provide assistance to people with disabilities all the way back to the vehicle and then to the door of the location. Those people with walkers, canes, wheelchairs. Now wheelchairs can go up to 600 pounds. So, you know, that's one of the things, part of our DOT physical that they have to pass to. But yeah, if you can send me an email afterward, I would surely send you our link to that job advertisement.
And then my other thing was back to like, you know, it was the cross transportation. I used to manage that for an agency, like I did it when it was USERV, and again when it was like FL, or TD Tampa Bay or whatever it's called.
Yeah, TD Tampa Bay.
And it was always greatly received. They loved it. And this will be the 3rd iteration. And I'm finding that with every single time we try this, we're getting less trust in the system. People rely on it, and then it goes away in a year, and they have to sacrifice their job or change their doctor or something like that. And so like just kind of like just know that like that's a thing that I have noticed, and also like so there might need to be increased like kind of outreach to get people to try to rely on the system again. Or maybe some kind of talk where like, this is going to last more than a year, because this would be their first time doing this, where they do this, and then within a year, it's usually gone, and they have to scramble and find something else.
And that's always an issue with one-time funding and with grants. You get it started up and then it goes away. That's why we need that continuous funding. So increasing the trips and equipment grant, which is continuous, every year, that would be better than a one-time innovation kind of grant thing. But what we're going to look at this time, that part of the discussion was look at how can we sustain that. But any kind of increase in service to sustain it's going to cost money from somewhere. If it's not coming from a grant, it has to come from in-house. And where is that going to come from? That's what we would have to look at. So a lot of times it might not even be feasible to do a grant. And a lot of times we have to look at that and say there's no way to sustain it. So we won't apply for it, kind of thing. But this is something we're going to try. We're in discussion with the commission, TV commission, on that. It's just we'll have to find how are we going to be able to sustain that in the future. Great point.
Great. And then when it's up and running, like I said, let me know and I'll blast it out to all the folks in the region, because they love it when it's on. It's just they've kind of started to learn to not rely on it. It's split things like jobs and things like that.
Okay. No, I thought you were talking about our job advertisement for our drivers.
No, that too. That was two separate points.
Oh, two separate, okay. Yeah, so email me and I'll get you that link. Thank you.
Schisler, real quick question.
Yes.
Thank you. Regarding the driver issue, have we reached out to Career Source of Tampa Bay to see if we could get them to help us with locating adequate number of drivers?
Yes, I'm currently working with Indy. She's one of our board members here, and we've been in communication, and I actually linked her up with our HR recruitment department, who they already knew each other anyway. So they're working on that there to get that in that state system for advertising.
Figured you were, but I just wanted to ask the question. Thank you very much. Very good report. Good information.
It's kind of just something that we could share with the other municipalities so that they would have the information that you are looking for drivers.
I could, if we get their, if you can let them know and they can contact me. I don't want to just blast it out.
Right, I'm just saying, if we could.
That's another great idea.
It'll be in Temple Terrace Tuesday night, guaranteed.
Yeah, we're always looking for good operators that to drive a vehicle safely and have that servant's heart kind of.
Yes.
You want to care for people.
So, John.
Great, everything's going, it's fantastic. Me being disabled, but knowing a lot of disabled people, veterans who can't work all the time, is there a possibility of having a part-time driver's position?
Unfortunately not, because we used to have part-time positions and it just didn't work for us, trying to manage, who's working when we need them full-time. And then you have that many more staff pulling in that many more benefits, so they get full benefits and only working half the time. So that really is problematic. And then people didn't want to work, and it was hard to get them. And then recruiting for those was really difficult too. We could never fill our part-time. We only have 4, and we could never fill those part-time positions. So it was pain in the neck. That's why we converted them to full-time. But great question. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, moving right along, we're at our old business and new business. Any old business? Any old business? Any new business? Yes, John.
Regarding the next meeting, April 22nd, that also includes a public workshop as required by the state planning grant. So the way that works is we'll call the public workshop to order, go through our business there, close, and then call a regular meeting to order and go through our business there. I would like to ask the board if you all have any ideas on a public workshop for this year. I'm definitely all ears. I would love to have some members of the public attend. In the past, we've kind of just done an overview of the TD system and how it works, kind of a refresher. But if you all see any other opportunities for increasing public involvement through the workshop, shoot me an email. I'll be thinking about it. And yeah, I would really love to have some of the public come out, have some discussions. So.
We thought about a location, so as we're talking about this, we can say where?
It'll be here.
Be here, okay. So you've already mentioned, yes?
Madam Chair, if I may, Indira Chambers from Career Source Tampa Bay. I would just like to avail myself, Josh, if you need assistance in the facilitation of that workshop, I am available.
Thank you, Indira.
You need the volunteers to help with anything that Josh or?
Maybe as I kind of flesh out how the workshop will go and what we want to do, I may ask the board if they would like to help out. Okay. If Vargas interested, of course.
I'll help you out. So.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
So Josh has already mentioned our next meeting on April 22nd, 2022. I can easily remember that day. That's the day before my birthday, so I'm just going to add it. Oh, couple of announcements I would like to make to this board because it fits into something that we've already discussed this morning. Hillsborough County government, we have the opportunity for 3 more transportation town hall. I don't know if y'all are aware, but we have one this coming Monday night, February 28th at Northdale Recreation Center, 15550 Spring Pine Drive. That's in District 2. And then I'm in District 1, March the 1st. It's going to be at the Les Miller All People Life Center, located at 6105 East Fly Avenue in Tampa. And District 4, which is Commissioner White, going to be at the Riverview Public Library at 9951 Bomb Riverview Drive. This is an opportunity to come out and share what you would like to see. You know, we have the 1% transportation surtax we're trying to put back on the ballot this coming November. As most of us know, the Supreme Court voted it down last year. So if you have comments and concerns, we're going to have storyboards talking about improvements of sidewalks, trail walks, how do we improve our traffic flow, roads and all infrastructure. This is an opportunity you can come by to share your concern with county staff at one of these town hall meetings for the 1% transportation tax that we're hoping that we can put on the vote referendum for November 8th to be voted upon by the voters here in Hillsborough County. Just want to share that with us. Any other announcement? Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Will those dates and locations be, are those posted anywhere?
Yeah, they should be on the county's website, hillsboroughtcounty.org. They should be already on our website. Because the last 3 would be starting next week. And if not, see me right after the meeting, I can give you this information. Any other comments, concerns? Anyone online, virtual? Any comments or concerns before we adjourn the meeting? It has been my pleasure to chair this meeting this morning and to meet our new board members and to meet everyone. And thank you so much for coming as the meeting is adjourned.
I'm sorry, I didn't get the original.
Commissioner Boyd Myers.
Yes.
Flyers.
Yes.
You took,
Let's.
yeah, let's.
Yes.
Oh, great.
Yes.
I love your style.
Oh, thank you.
I can tell you like.
Yeah, close enough.
Yes, that's one of the things I plan to change.
Well, very glad to meet
And I'm
you.
waiting for some meetings from you. They were talking about some meetings out of a big.
I just wanted to let you know I like to see you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Miami. Shelter.
We had an weird one where they were.
I'm sorry.
But they wouldn't tell me where they were. They were.
Yeah.
But I was like, wait, where's this came from? I like find out what the case was.
But hey, the main meeting is going to manifest a
And I
lot.
was like, well, you guys like.
I think I got
not
to it,
like
Josh.
actually working, you were like.
I get to it. I gotta get it.
Yeah, they like wouldn't tell us anything
No,
about it.
no, I
Like,
think,
CBC, like, we
one
would tell you,
I
like,
think so.
well,
I don't think.
Yeah.
I think how we feel that collaboration with each other.
I really didn't know what to make of that.
Because I have a
So what are you trying to
newsletter, I don't know if you're aware.
Yeah.
But I have a newsletter that goes out every week. So we have anything on disadvantage, what we need to share with them, we have a flyer. I'd be happy to include it in my newsletter.
Should I not?
Yes, no, Jason, because he uses.
I think I've used that before.
Yeah, any information that you have that you want the public to know, yes.
Yeah, social media, Jordan will be able to call for that.
I would say,
Yes.
hey, Jerry, you
Use like an online application.
yeah, we're done with meetings, so I think Lori's making her way downstairs.
One of the areas, and some more, if you said more out.
All right.
Yes,
Yep.
but you have to have, like, okay.
Thank you for coming. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. How you doing? Same here.
I really appreciate it.
Commissioner, thanks for the meeting.
Thank you for coming. Oh, you got
You guys have time back.
What?
I said you're vice chair.
Well, we got, allow, try to have it, but it,
Sure, you-
again, thank you for all the